Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the November 14th, 2012 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. Moving on to the agenda and to business, we have a request for a certificate of compliance, the City of Lowell, concerning DEP 2060638. The project location is Public Ways, Jackson Street, Revere, and C and E Streets, and otherwise known as Canal Street. If you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Associates, civil engineer, that I reviewed the project and determined that it was in substantial compliance with the order conditions. We've provided an as-built survey of the roadway, and this evening, in response to Swate's letter, we provided some additional information about that, and willing to entertain any questions the commission may have on this. I think it's a fairly straightforward issue.
The original order it issued, and that was the 638, and then you came back for an amendment to that for some regrade work, and I believe the cut through or for the footings for the new bridge at the end of Canal Street.
That's correct.
That's part of this order too?
Yeah, that's part of this order, and we also, in the as-built survey, we did locate that stuff, put it on the plans. It's on the as-built plan, and that's in conformance with the amended portion of the order as well. So you're correct in pointing out that this is not only for the order, it's also for the amended portion.
Okay.
That's correct.
I guess the issue then that has cropped up is that area that was the focus of the amended part.
Correct.
Which I want to focus on that first.
Sure.
That area isn't stabilized yet, and we don't. The grading isn't. It hasn't been certified, and I would rather leave that open until work has been completed as far as that part goes, and issue a partial COC for the remainder of the work.
Okay.
That's part of the focus of the main part of the order before the amendment.
I have with me tonight maybe Larry Sparrow of Trinity Financial, and he has a better handle on that area than I do. I was unaware that I thought that area had been stabilized.
Hi, I'm Larry Sparrow with Trinity Financial. Actually, I thought the area was, yes. I'm not sure what you mean by it isn't stabilized. We finished that work. We built the concrete up ready for a future bridge abutment. That work may not be done until financing is set for the future bridge. But the road, the grading down and stuff has been, grass was growing on. It doesn't look so great this time of year, but a few months ago, it was, the grass was up and solid, so I'm actually not sure.
Today it looked like an active construction site. It was all torn
Well, they're
up.
using there is a couple access roads that we're using a little bit for 110 Canal in the future.
A lot more than a little bit.
Well, okay, but it's being used, and yes, we're developed. If you saw the road now down to 110 Canal, that is being worked on. So, I guess I'm not disagreeing that we were using it.
If I might, would it be possible, because there's an order of conditions under 110, is it possible to roll this work, and this is the fact, that the access that's going on there is associated with the open order of conditions, which is ongoing for 110.
Yeah, I mean, there's some overlap.
Is there any way to roll that work into the 110 order and close this order out, just for kind of cleanliness of the...
You could file for an amendment, sure, and pull that work over to an open order. That work that's still continuing is already part of an existing order, though. You're already working under a valid order there. My comment was more tuned to, there seems to be some overlap of that amendment, the amended order sort of overlapped with another project that's ongoing and another order of conditions that's ongoing. I mean, typically we don't issue a COC until the work on, the square footage that we're dealing with is done, and it's clearly not done. That's my comment. I don't know how, I don't know how you want to reconcile that, but getting a certificate of compliance in an active construction site is, going to be difficult here. I just have one other comment on the pedestrian walkways. I believe there's supposed to be signage there for no salt and sand, and I know they were there last year.
There should be, it still
I
should be there.
didn't see them. I didn't
There's
see
the
them
little
today.
green I saw it 2 months ago, sir. I'll check to make
All
sure
right.
it's there, but
Okay.
it definitely was.
And I looked around. I mean, I didn't. I remember they were on the iron fences.
No, it was on the brick. It
You
was on
chan-
the
oh,
brick.
you-
That was, that's, we maybe put a temporary one on the
Oh,
iron,
all
but
right,
then I got a
okay.
permanent one, it was on the
Oh, all
brick.
right, okay. Then I may have missed that. I may have
Okay.
missed
And
those,
I'll
though.
check.
I poked around and, because I know they were there.
Yep.
I know they were there in the past. I just didn't see them today.
I mean, I'm not sure of all the finance, but I do know that this order of condition is one of the, this certificate of completion is one of the last things all our attorneys need to close out our major funding for Appleton, and
I'm satisfied,
And-
as I
and
said,
it's-
I'm satisfied with the
Yeah.
main part of the order that everything's been, it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
really nice work. It's, I mean, anything would have been an improvement out there, but this is really nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's spectacular, actually, but I'm still struggling with the focus, or the part of the order that was amended for the new bridge that's going to be put in. Now, I know you did the cut-through, and what is that? Is that the bridge footing that's down there?
Correct.
Yeah, but
Sub-footing, they call it, yeah.
But now, Swati, do we have the order? I'll open it up to questions. Well, I just want to just take a peek at something.
Those access roads may not show on the original plan. No, they don't. But it just makes sense.
I've got an idea about this. Just let them talk.
See, it's on your as-built, you're limiting your work pretty much just off the sidewalk area of Canal Street as it runs along the canal there up to the left-hand turn before it's going to go over the new bridge. The problem, though, is that the order of conditions didn't stop there.
Yep.
It included the embankment down
Right,
to the canal.
right,
And if we release it, we're saying you did that and you didn't do it.
yep.
Okay, you see what I'm getting at?
I do completely, and I'm wondering if we could, would it be possible, and I'm just asking the question, would it be possible for this commission to issue the COC and condition it that we will come back, we'll file it tomorrow morning, to amend the order for 110 to include that work. So then the work is covered under 110, but we can close the book on Canal Street. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea.
What we can do is as I said, we can issue a partial COC on the work that's been done.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that the rest of the commission is, what I saw, I feel comfortable issuing a COC on the work that's been done, but with the condition that it doesn't include the area to the northeast of, or to the northwest of Canal Street towards the canal. Because clearly that work, it's still an active construction site, and that, whether that grading's been done or not, I don't know, but it's not part of your as-built
Sure.
either.
Sure,
Your
no.
as-built stops
You're right.
just off the right-of-way, whereas the original plan contemplated a gradient. Now, I don't know, there's been a lot of filings with this project. I don't know if that embankment work down to the old historic, brick facade that's remaining, I don't know if that's been rolled into another order of conditions now, too. I don't think it has.
No, you're correct. It has not. And I did address that I know it was last minute. There was a letter that I just submitted this evening, and I did discuss that issue. And that is something we have looked at. And the off-grading is even though it doesn't show on the site plans, on the record condition plan we submitted, it is in conformance. So that is something that I've addressed in my letter.
All right, we can't, as a procedural matter, we can't just roll that work into another order. It's got to be a filing, but we can't release that part of it either.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly, if we release it, it's done.
Yep.
There's, at that point in time, there's no legal obligation to go back and do it as was originally proposed. It could be something completely different, or, clearly you wouldn't be able to proceed out there because it's still a resource area, and you would need to file because it wouldn't be covered by any order.
Sure.
But we can't release that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm getting at. We could release it if it was, as you say, if we could, amend it into another order, yes. But we're not at the stage where we could release it tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's, could we release it in 2 weeks? Yeah, perhaps if you had started the process of
Right.
of
If we had
rolling
made
it
the
into another
request
order.
prior to this, to include it under the 110 order. But I can't ask you tonight to do that, is your point.
Yeah, it's because obviously we don't have a filing, and it's got to go through the, appropriate public hearing process.
Well, that's what we're going to do tonight is a partial. Hopefully that can give you the...
So I guess all I can ask is if you can give us as much partial as you can, and hopefully our attorneys, finance attorneys, will allow the project to close.
Yeah,
with that,
if I
or
can make the comment, I consider that to be a minor
What,
aspect.
the completion of
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
I don't, it's not a problematic issue, at least as far as I'm concerned, because it still seems to be, that area still seems to be an active construction site. You're actively working out there still. It's not like, you came and the fences are up and that's just an area you said, oh, the heck with it, we're not going to do anything down there. I appreciate the fact that you're still working, in that particular area, and there's still work to come.
If we did this in the spring, it would have looked completed because we hadn't started 110 Canal.
Right.
And now we've just used it as a secondary access down there.
It may have just been a logistics oversight, this should have been part of another order, and it ended up on this order. Perhaps the engineer didn't talk to the construction site, who knows? Obviously this area is needed for staging and access to other parts of this project to complete it. So I don't anticipate that those grades are going to be correct in the finish work, and stabilization is going to be done until that whole area is finished.
Yeah, if I can speak, the grading is done and the roads are there. It's just that, because it's muddy and stuff, things get probably beat up a little bit.
Okay.
It was last spring, the grass was there and it was,
Okay,
if you had seen it then, you would have said it's done.
Okay,
But now
well, that
we've
may
been
be, but
driving
we
on
don't
it, I
have, we
think.
don't have,
Well, that may be.
We don't have a as-built about that either. The as-built ends, 50 feet this way of the what was approved, so, the as-built has a smaller footprint than what was approved, so.
Well, if I can ask you, at least if I can get this partial that I can give to the attorneys, and hopefully they can run with it, otherwise we'll be right back to you as soon as we...
Let me open this up if there's any questions, Commissioner Lovely.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I guess I'll offer a recommendation how to proceed.
Commissioner Varnum? Commissioner Chalupka? Commissioner Lynch? All right. Yeah, I don't, and as I said, if it will help, I certainly, I certainly would be willing, as part of a partial COC, to indicate that the work is, done, but what that little portion that remains is still an active, site, and it's your intention to roll that into or to amend it to another valid order. And once you do that, I wouldn't have any problems with you coming back and going for a full COC on the site. I mean, that could be done relatively quickly. It's
Right.
just.
We could write a letter on that tomorrow morning, sure.
I suppose perhaps we could even build it into the COC. I don't know if we could condition the COC to say that upon the embankment area between Canal Street and the Lower Pawtucket Canal being accepted into or being amended into either a new order of conditions or an existing order of conditions, a full COC will release, a full COC will issue. And it can be done automatically. You wouldn't even have to come back.
That would be great.
I don't know if the commission understood that, but I mean, it would just be an outstanding condition to be met, and once the condition is met, it's a full COC.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I don't know if there's a motion to be.
Are you making that? I move to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP number 2060638. This certificate issues with the understanding that an amendment to the order will be requested to include the area to the north of Canal Street along the place where the next new bridge will be constructed into a additional order of conditions or a new order of conditions. Is that enough?
Yeah, and then the only thing I suppose, well, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Just by way of discussion, I guess the only thing I would add is that the COC be a partial COC until such time as that condition is met, and then the certificate of compliance would become a full release of the project.
I think it would be helpful if there's language in there that it's, that the completion of the roadway is, because this is really what I think is the critical part for us, is that that the partial completion is for all of the completed roadway of Canal Street and the bridge.
Okay,
I
that's,
think that would help us with our attorneys.
that language can be put in.
Okay.
That's just when we do the certificate of compliance, absolutely, that's appropriate.
Okay.
And the bridge too, I would imagine you want that.
Correct,
trolley
the bridge and the completed Canal Street utilities and roadway. If that language can be in there, I think that would be very helpful for us.
Yes.
So we are not going to amend the order that is out there for 110 Canal Street. You are looking at this as a new order.
I suppose we could issue a partial COC for what is this, the 638 order with respect to the bridge and the canal street and attendant, walkways and
Right.
whatnot as part of that order, except that portion to the northwest of Canal Street along the embankment of the Lower Pawtucket Canal, which the applicant will amend into either a new order of conditions or an existing order of conditions. Okay?
Yeah,
At which time then this will become a full certificate.
Right.
no, we're going to roll it into 110, I'm pretty sure.
It's the only one out there.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right.
Try to do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Commissioner Lovely, Commissioner Varnum. Chair is yes. Commissioner Chalupka, Commissioner Lynch.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Good night. Moving on is a request for certificate of compliance for Group 1 Realty, Inc. concerning DEP file number 2060416. The project location is 724 through 732 Rogers Street.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, for your record, my name is Steve Stupinski from Merrimack Engineering. Attorney Ashley Brooks, who actually submitted the request to you, could not be here tonight. My firm prepared the original design plans for what was originally Satin of Lowell, which is now the Mazda dealership, and as you know, the Jeep Chrysler dealership built adjacent to it. And I think this was permitted back in the late 90s, and Mr. Lannon, who was the developer, never came in for a certificate of compliance. And Group 1, who is the subsequent owner of the Chrysler dealership, is involved in a transfer and to another party and has requested that the certificate of compliance be issued. We went out, Vladimir Nemonchuk and myself from my firm went out, made an inspection of the site. I would add, during construction, I was there for inspection of the subgrade, the drainage, the utilities, and the pavement. And the work was, at that time, completed in accordance with the plan and some few changes that we made in terms of the infiltration system location. I went out there again this past week, and I know, Mr. Chairman, you were there. The side slopes, the area between the wetlands and the pavement, I think is all very well established. It's been growing for 10, 12 years. It's well maintained, I think, by both dealerships. There's a chain link fence that was put there, and I remember, I think Louisa may remember the purpose of the fence was to keep trash from blowing into the wetlands, and I think that's been effective. I didn't see any trash and debris in the wetlands when I was there, either a couple months ago or just this week. I think that's it. I know that the assistant city planner had a question about snow, and at the time that this plan was proposed, the intention was to push the snow to the back of the site where the city of Lowell currently stockpiles their snow. So it'd be outside the buffer from the wetlands. That's in fact where they do put it. So they do push it straight back, front to back. They plow it adjacent to the where the city stockpiles there. So it is outside of the wetland buffer zone as well. And as you know, the entire site is curbed, and all of the runoff on the site is directed directly into the infiltration system and/or catch basins that then discharge and ultimately end up in the that wetland area, the wooded area adjacent to the site. So be happy to answer any questions that the commission might have.
I have a couple of comments and some questions. It's always a good time to view a site for a COC when it's pouring rain, and that's what we did. The catch basin towards the, let me get my bearings here, towards the north, going towards Colley Stadium, seemed to have been functioning as far as collecting the groundwater in the parking area. So it seemed to be working as designed. So I guess my comments more, I made some notes, but the roof drains for the building and the new part, the new addition to the building that were placed that water that comes off the roof is supposed to be collected into the Cultec system, or the recharge system, and some of those are broken. I counted 2 that were completely missing, and another several that were either failed up at the roof scupper or down below where.
Is this on the Mazda or the Chrysler building?
On the Mazda building.
Yeah, okay.
And those are supposed to be part of the recharge system, and clearly they weren't functioning. And there was large, and hadn't been for a while, because there was large puddle areas and erosion that was heading over towards the neighbor properties, so those need to be addressed. I mean, there was some fairly stout holders that held those pipes, but the pipes themselves, the stand pipes themselves, seem to be a lightweight aluminum. I don't know if those can be beefed up at all. I don't know.
And this is on the Mazda building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't, and it was on the west and north side of the building, because there's no the roof must drain towards that direction, because there was none on the east or south, none on the front side of the building at all, because that's where the customers come in and out of the building. And then on the east side, there's a lot of there's the access roads, and the vehicles get serviced in and out of the east side of the building. So there was none over there at all. So it all drains towards the back and the left side facing the building. And as I said, several of those were down and otherwise not functioning. So that needs to be addressed. Your as-built plan doesn't show any grades for between the parking area and the Lot A, which is the wetland area that's separated by the chain link fence. It seemed to me that some of those grades were much steeper than what were originally anticipated as part of the order of conditions. And I don't know if it's within the margin of error of doing the plans or whether it just appeared to be that they were steeper or not, but I note that the as-built plan doesn't have any grades at all, and they should be there. There's some animal activity in that embankment, which is a good thing. There's some large burrowing animals that are using that embankment, and that will continue. Joe and I were out there yesterday. We counted 4 large holes. I mean, you could fall in them. They were that big. Along that embankment, there perhaps should be some, low bushes or something placed as further stabilization around that. I mean, you're not going to stop the animals. They're going to do what they're going to do. And we certainly don't want you, we don't want you plugging those holes up, without the assistance of an animal control officer of some sort. But there was some erosion going on as far as that was concerned. And again, it was mainly due to the steepness of those slopes. Those slopes almost seemed 1-to-1 in some places.
Slopes are graded at 2-to-1.
Yeah,
That's why I think it's on the
they seemed a
plan.
lot steeper than that in some
No.
places. So, but the as-bills don't have any grades at all on them.
I don't think the order required an as-built grading plan.
Well, the grades show on the approved plan.
But I don't think the order required one. With all
Required
due
what?
respect.
If the grades show on the plan, the as-bills have to show it, and
I don't think the order said that, but
I'm not understanding your comment. If you're showing grades on the approved plan, your grades as the as-built better be dead on,
I don't think
or
the
you're not
order,
gonna
I
get
don't
your,
think, I
or
don't
you're not
think,
gonna get your approval.
I don't think the order required, without due respect, I don't think the order required an as-built plan. Required a certification that the work's been completed.
You will not get a COC without an as-built plan.
Just saying, I think at the time the order was written, it didn't require it. It's set forth what was required, and I don't think that was
The
required.
Wetlands Protection Act requires an as-built plan and certification.
At the time that the order was issued, it didn't.
Yes, at the time that the order
Right.
was issued.
Just, that's my point. My point is, at the time the order was issued, it didn't require that.
The Wetlands Protection Act in 1996 required an as-built plan to be submitted, along with an engineer's certification. I was on the commission in 1996.
I understand. I'm saying the order didn't require it.
The landscaped area to the west of the building, along the arborvitae
Again, this is near the Mazda building.
screening, yes, again, near the Mazda building. An as-built plan dated back in 2006 shows a recharge, an underground recharge area. Was that built or not?
Yes,
It was built,
yes.
okay. That should be shown on your current as-built plan. That's part of this order. And the Caltech system that's towards the north end of the parking area, we haven't seen any O&M plans and maintenance reports from that. They're supposed to be filed on an annual basis. And I note that I asked, I don't think the commission has received one yet. I don't know about the engineering department, whether they've been receiving them or not. I can't speak for them, but we haven't. So we should at least receive a modern one indicating that the system is functioning as designed.
Sure.
As part of the filing for the COC. Okay. I don't have any more comments, but Commissioner Lovely, Commissioner Varnum, Commissioner Chalupka, Commissioner Lynch. All right.
Could I ask the chairman and the commission if they would consider, I think you have a copy of I think the attorney submitted my Alta survey as a as-built plan. I would just ask, if you look at the plan itself, Lot B-C, which is not the subject of, well, which is the subject of the transfer and really does not have anything to do with the Mazda building. So Lot B-C is the area closest to Alumni Field. And it's the lot that does not have the infiltration system. The infiltration system is located on Lot A, which has the wetlands on it. Would it be possible for the commission to issue a partial certificate of compliance for Lot B-C, since the items of work that you've just suggested are entirely on Lot A?
Okay, the building indicated as Lot B. You're saying Lot B-C. I'm not, where's Lot C?
That's what they call it, Lot B-C.
Oh, all right.
And if I can approach, I can clarify.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
I found it. That's the Jeep dealership now?
That would be the Chrysler Jeep dealership, right?
What are you here for today? You here for the whole thing or just
We
that?
really, well, the attorney filed it as the whole thing, because I think she would prefer to get the whole thing. But the items of work that you've referred to are on the Mazda site.
And you're not
And
here on behalf of
Prime,
them?
no, Prime doesn't control the Mazda site. I mean, doesn't control the Mazda site. Mr. Lanham still does. Prime only owns Lot B-C. That's all that they control. So if the commission could vote to issue a partial certificate releasing B-C, that would leave Mr. Lannon, responsible for the items on the Mazda site, which he still owns.
The,
I have some larger scale plans if the commission wishes.
Are you referring to only number 732 Roger Street? Are the two lots different addresses?
Yeah, number 732, yes.
So the as-built for the Lot A is 724?
720. The Mazda building is 720, and the Chrysler Jeep is 732, and that's called Lot B-C. It's actually two lots, Lot B and C combined. And Lot A is the 5.3 acres, includes the Mazda dealership, and the parking lot and the storm water infiltration system. So the areas that I think the chair was relating to are all on land that's not owned by Prime.
the entire catch basin system on the site is tied into the Cultec and the recharge system. There's no way we could release Lot B-C. That's all serviced by the catch basins on the site that use the recharge system and the Cultec system. They're all tied into each other.
I understand, but the catch basins are entirely located on Lot A.
No, they're not. There's several on Lot B-C. All of them are.
The catch basins in the front, that's correct, right. I thought you meant the rear part.
I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 catch basins on lots B-C that are tied into the entire system. There's no
I don't know, I don't know.
There's no way I would even consider issuing a partial for that until we have certifications that the system is functioning and has been designed as it was supposed to have been designed.
Well, can I just see what plan you're looking at? Because the plan I have doesn't show that. I'm not sure you have the right plan.
I'm looking at a plan that was approved in April 16, 1996.
These catch basins don't go into the Caltech.
They were designed to.
No, they go into,
They were designed to go into a recharge swale, which would have no information on.
the swell has been removed. The swell doesn't exist.
How does that affect the catch basins then?
That swale that was there, that we designed, has been piped. I believe the city of Lowell piped it. So you have a separate order that you would have issued to the city or someone, because that swale is gone. It's now a pipe, underground pipe. I believe the city did it.
Which are serviced by these catch basins. Where do they go? Because the order that I'm looking at has them all tied in. If it wasn't designed like that, then you need to do some more research and show us where those things go, because that's not what was approved. Yeah. It was originally proposed to be in the northwest corner, and it was moved over.
It's actually located
It's over here, yeah? No, I remember that change.
So there are no catch basins that go into the Caltech system that are contained on this lot. This lot exists by itself.
But they're indicating that they're going into a recharge swale, and we have no information on that. Those are outfalls into the recharge swale.
This swale isn't here anymore. It's now piped. When we did the survey, it's
Then where does it go?
it now
Because that's,
it's piped on the entire back into this
Yep.
city.
That-
If you go out here,
we don't have any information on that. That's what I'm telling you.
saying that's, the city did the work, I believe. So they picked up these flatheads now bringing animals. And this comes off into this wetland.
But these catch basins,
I didn't permit that, so that's something that
we didn't permit it either, so.
it's there. I was told the city did the work.
We need to get some research done then, and figure out what happens to those, because what was approved, if that's not what's out there, then there's some other issues.
Well,
But-
again-
But these catch basins are clearly on your property, that your lots B-C.
But again,
They were supposed to discharge into a recharge swale. And if that's not what's happening, then there's some issues that need to be addressed.
again, that I don't think was designed as a recharge swale. That was designed as a grass swale leading into the wetland that's wooded. And I don't think it was designed as a recharge swale. I don't think it says recharge swale on the plan either.
Well, we have two proposed riprap outlets that aren't there on the approved plan.
Right, those two outlets go into drain manholes that, when we surveyed it, the outlets were there. I'm saying that is now piped.
Okay, that may be, but that's not showing on your as-built, and that's not what was approved.
Well, again, this plan wasn't really done for the purposes of submission to the commission. It was done for another purpose. And again, Prime doesn't own the balance of the property, so Prime doesn't really have an ability to go there and survey it and locate the pipe and do any work associated with that building or stabilization of the slopes. That's-
Prime purchased the property at some point in time?
Prime owns Lot B-C.
Okay, did they own it in 1996?
No, they didn't. They subsequently purchased it.
Okay, with an open and outstanding order of conditions on
That's
their
right.
property. It would have been incumbent upon them to do a little bit of research at that time to figure out how that affected their property. There's no way this can be released until we're satisfied that the project's been built as conditioned and ordered. And you're asking us to release half the property, and with stormwater management issues involved, and we have no idea if they've been addressed or not.
Again, the items of work that you've outlined are entirely on a separate property that Prime doesn't control.
I understand what I was going on. I thought you were here for the whole property.
No.
You're just here for two lots, but notwithstanding that, those two lots are still part of the order of conditions. Whether you want to view it that way or not, that's the way it is. And your properties, B and C, are serviced by the stormwater management, and the catch basins, and the infiltration system that's installed here. This commission conditioned a project back in 1996, and if it's been built according to the conditions, fine. We need more information to release it. If it hasn't been built according to condition, then we need information to satisfy us that it's functioning as it was originally intended. We don't have that information in front of us.
Okay. All right. Did the commission ever permit in addition to the building, to the Mazda building?
Say that again?
Modifications? Did you ever permit a modification to the order for the Mazda building?
I believe we did do some additional permitting that moved the Caltech system and expanded the size of the building at some point in time.
Okay.
And again, I was very new to the commission in 1996, when this was originally done. And then the subsequent permitting was done several years later.
Okay.
There was also some attendant work that was done with the Troll Brook that's in an underground culvert at that point in time, too. The city, in conjunction with the original developer, had done some restorative and corrective work to the culvert. But I'm sensitive to what you're asking us, but it doesn't obviate the problem that your client purchased property with an outstanding order of conditions, is benefiting from the order of conditions, and is utilizing the stormwater management system that's in place on the property. But we don't have enough information to make a determination as to whether or not that stormwater policy has been satisfied, and whether or not the system as built has been built as designed.
Okay.
Okay?
In terms of the improvements that you were looking for on the building,
As far as the roof scuppers and whatnot, yeah, I mean, that's not on your property, but the stormwater management, the catch basins in the underground system is part of your project and part of your property. Even though it's not on your site, you're utilizing it.
so if I guess the question would be, if Prime was to provide all the information that you requested, with the exception of addressing the roof scuppers, the building information, and also, obviously, they can't, I mean, I wouldn't think that they're gonna be able to produce reports. We'll have to go back and inspect the system in detail, maybe TV camera it or something like that. Assuming they could do everything except the scuppers, would the commission then at least consider a partial order?
We
partial
would
release?
entertain it. I can't speak for the remaining members and whether or not whether it would issue or not, but it certainly would entertain it.
Could you poll the members?
We don't have enough information to answer your question. You've got to be before us with the appropriate information. We don't have it yet.
Right. I guess what I would say is, if they don't control the building, they can't fix the,
That's a problem, because you
Right.
purchased a property with an outstanding order, and now you're asking, oops, what I would suggest to you is get together with Mr. Lannon to correct these problems that are outstanding, and file it as one request for certificate of compliance for the entire site. That would be your best bet,
okay.
okay? Because you purchased the property with an outstanding order. It should have been addressed back when it was purchased,
That's
which
right.
would have been the seller's responsibility to get the whole property done, and not just part. I'm not even sure we could issue a partial in that particular instance. I mean, I'd need an opinion from the legal department, because this was issued on the whole property, not just on some of it.
But I think there was a Form A that created the property lines, and I think the filing showed the 3 lots, but I believe, so.
Okay. I mean, I'd get together with the Mazda dealership and work together to get this whole thing released. That would be your best option. That's what really should be done. That's what I thought we were here today for. I had no idea this was just for
Prime.
B and C.
Okay,
Hold on, is there any other questions from the commission? No, all right,
okay,
okay.
good,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Just as a matter of procedure before we go on, I don't think we need to take a vote on this at this time, because we're not issuing a COC. So do you have a time frame as to when you'll be back? Because we have an application for a certificate of compliance.
I would just ask, Mr. Chairman, that it be tabled at this point, because I can't speak for Prime. First of all, the attorney really should be here, not me, because she filed it. And so I can't speak for her, and I can't speak for Prime. So I'll have to relay it to her, she'll have to relay it to Prime, and then Prime's going to have to make the decision as to how they want to proceed. So if you could just table this, and then if they decide to withdraw it, they'll forward a letter to the commission withdrawing it. And if they decide to proceed, then we'll forward you a schedule letting you know when the information would be forthcoming.
All right. I don't anticipate you'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't want to, I don't
I'm
want to.
certain we won't be back in 2
All right.
weeks.
What I'd like to.
But I wouldn't, but actually, I won't say that, because I don't know what Prime is going to do tomorrow, and they might say, get everything done in the next 3 days and get it back there. I mean,
I'll
candidly.
entertain a motion then to continue it to the next meeting, and then you can communicate with the office as to what your intentions are. If you intend to withdraw it and then refile
Right.
at a, so, you don't lose anything by withdrawing it.
That's right.
So, and refiling at a subsequent time, so.
Yep.
So it's not on the agenda from meeting to meeting.
Move to continue until the next regular meeting.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying yea or nay. Okay. Opposed, the ayes have it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on to the next item. It's a notice of intent, Pat Carney, concerning DEP file number 2060699. The project location is 259 Baldwin Street, and it's regarding landscaping a small section of the bank of the Black Brook to clean up miscellaneous debris, including shopping carts, vines, and fallen tree limbs, and provide mulch replacement without altering the terrain. If you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
My name is Patrick Carney. We own the property at 259 Baldwin Street, doing business as Town and Country Healthcare Center. We filed a notice of intent to make some aesthetic improvements to the property, which we acquired in January of this year. And additionally, I think some of the language in the notice of intent may be slightly misleading. We're here to clarify any of that.
All right, let me, are you all set?
Sure.
Okay, let me ask you something. Was this just for cleanup?
That's all. Well, to the cleanup of the shopping carts and the branches and the things that were down along the bank. But the intent is to just put the grass back in where the trucks have taken it out next to the driveway, but it's within the limits of the wetlands.
All right, I was out there today, and a couple of things. One is there's 2 piles of loam out there, and they should not be there. You're 10, 15 feet from the Black Brook itself, and you're right on top of the bank. That's got to go tomorrow morning. Those have got to be gone. The second thing is there's an attempt to have put up, and before anything's done, that siltation fence, that's, one, got to be fixed. 2, it's got to be installed correctly. It's not installed correctly. There's a 4-inch gap along the bottom, and you can't really see it because the leaves have fallen off the trees and have covered it over. But that's not going to stop anything from running down into the Black Brook. There's a proper way to install a siltation fence and barrier, and whoever did it didn't know what they were doing. So that has to be done properly. The bottom of it has to be weighted down and covered,
Okay.
so it collects the runoff. it's, all that does is act as a wind fence, and it's just gonna, and it's been driven over, it's been knocked down, it's not even standing in some places. There's been some filling there too. There was a lot of fresh, like a gravelly loam with a gravel size, a good size, I don't know what they call it, they don't call it a pea stone, but,
The pea stone was there along the side of the driveway when we acquired the property in January.
okay, well, that looked fresh to me,
No, it's not.
because there was no vegetation on it. There's
Quite to the contrary, it's been
there's
there
a-
since
you
we
know,
bought the
you can
facility.
see where the vegetation ends, and there's been some fresh filling or regrading, and then vegetation starts up again. That work, that can't be done there. You're right on top of the bank of the Black Brook. Work can't be done unless it's properly permitted in those particular areas. Now, picking out shopping carts and debris, yeah, that can be done. Okay, if it's gonna be, if you're doing it by hand and, and work persons are just going in there and pulling it out by hand, that's fine. We'd request that you send a letter along to the commission and just contact us, let us know that you're gonna be doing that. So someone's not calling and saying, hey, someone's up down in the brook doing all sorts of work, and at least we're aware of it. If it's more intensive work, then you should be asking whether or not you should file something that they call a request for determination of applicability. And that basically, it's more intensive work, or it's asking whether or not what you're proposing to do requires a permit. Now, you filed for the permit, but as I said, the work seems to already have been done. So and again, to me, it seemed it was more than picking out shopping carts and whatnot. Now, you're asking to put in bark mulch.
We've taken that off the table.
all right.
No
Oh,
mulch. No
good.
mulch will be applied.
Okay, good, because that's a wholly unsuitable material to be placing along a bank of a brook.
And in addition, we're more than willing to remediate whatever is necessary there on the bank with some shrubs for their root structure to maintain the bank's integrity.
The one other thing I'd like to comment on when I was out there today is, and I know this is an acute problem for you, and that's parking. I know you don't have any, or you have very little. But cars shouldn't be parked on the brook side of the parking area and the roadway off the paved surface. They absolutely should not be parking there. The danger for a leaky, oil tank, or or someone blows a water pump, and now we have antifreeze running down into the Black Brook. It's so close. I don't have to tell you, you appreciate how close you are to the bank.
You see that it's been painted with that, so that the line's on there for them not to park, but people come in
You
and
need to put up a sign or a berm or something, but you've got, there was at least 15, 20 cars parked on top of the bank of the brook when I was out there today.
we can remediate that with a,
And again, I say that, I understand your issue. I was really kind of surprised at the lack of parking when I was out there. I had never been back there before, so. But again, parking's not our issue, but the vehicles really shouldn't be there. I've said what I feel, but if there's any questions.
I was out there today also, and I just felt that whole area was very unstable. That you say there was grass there, but I believe I've seen something in process there for a month or two. So in my mind, I think I saw a pile of mulch there at one point.
there is no mulch on the site.
It's a pile of something, maybe it's the loam I saw.
It's topsoil to try to reestablish the grass between the existing grass and the driveway, not on the bank side.
Well, I might suggest that instead of trying to grow grass there, if people are going to continue to try to park in the same place, that perhaps some shrubs or some other type of taller plantings would prevent that. But it definitely needs to be stabilized as soon as possible, and your time's running out this fall, I'd say.
Very rapidly.
I thought the brook looked pretty good. The debris, if there was more, has pretty much been removed. But there was evidence that those piles of loam have been there long enough that within the recent rain, it's flowed towards the street. And there is a catch basin right above the brook in Westford Street. So I would say that, the loam needs to be moved and the silt fence needs to be fixed, and you really need to plant something there as soon as possible.
Commissioner Chalupka? Commissioner Lynch? All right. As I note, this is here for notice of intent. Just as a point of reference too, your plan doesn't give us a lot of detail. It just kind of shows the area where everything is. The Wetlands Protection Act, has a 25, in the city of Lowell has a 25-foot riverfront area. And what that means, as far as, it's normally 100 feet, but the city of Lowell has a special exception because of all the, it's a highly urbanized area, and there's a lot of development that's been done pre the Wetlands Protection Act along the banks of rivers and brooks and in and throughout the city. And because of that, the city has a limited riverfront area. But because of the limited nature of the riverfront area, it's largely a no-disturb zone. And what that means is you're not supposed to do anything there. There was no pre-development there. And what I mean by that is there wasn't a building there within 25 feet of the top of the bank of the Black Brook. And it's measured from the top, the mean high water mark is the top of the bank, and it measures laterally outward 25 feet. Laterally outward 25 feet from the top of the bank roughly puts you right around where the road is, maybe a little bit into the road in some areas, and then as you go further up the hill, a little bit less so. You shouldn't be disturbing that ground at all. That's what they call a no-touch zone. You're not even supposed to put a shovel in there, okay? So without coming before the commission, okay? And even then, what we can permit in those areas is very limited.
David, you want to comment on that?
That bank, as I said, it seemed, and I agree with Commissioner Varnum, it seemed very unstable. It seemed to have been some fresh, either regrading or fresh loam having been placed in that particular area.
Neither one. It was just raked and cleaned.
All right. Well, it was very spongy.
The raking made it appear to be.
All right. And as I said, if you just kicked away some of the leaves, there was no vegetation under it. It was raw loam. So not what I would have expected along the bank. You would have expected all sorts of herbaceous cover, and I didn't find any of that.
For some reason, it was all dead. It was brown.
Okay. Now,
I'm Michelle Carney, and I was there on the day of it. I asked them to go out, and I asked them to take the poison ivy and the carts out of it. I stood there and saw what they removed from there. And we were doing it when someone from the commission came by. Your office asked us to stop, which we did. We have been trying to be fully compliant. So we also have waited for this day. had to hire someone, had to get plans together, when all our only intention is to either put junipers or weeping willow or whatever you recommend we'll gladly put as the plant. That's all we wanted to do, was put either grass or some new plants. But I stood there and I saw the shopping carts, the poison ivy, and the dead brush, and that's all we did. We did put the loam there so that we could start to see. And someone from this office asked us to stop in midair, so us too can see that dirt is gonna go if we don't do something. So please just tell us what kind of shrubbery. That's all we wanted to do, was make it prettier
Okay.
and put shrubbery. So
Right.
that's all we wanna do tomorrow, would be fine, is some shrubs.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but it's,
We're sorry we didn't do it by asking first. It didn't appear that we were disturbing anything. It was the smallest area, and we saw it. We bought the facility in January. I stayed as administrator there visibly on site until June. Probably about, you are correct, you have seen it like that, but this office made us just stop. So, yeah, we would like to get this planted with something as soon as possible, and we'll do whatever shrubbery you think is best for the, for the holding of the
okay,
ground.
what I'm trying to get at is, and you just confirmed it, is that you did put loam in there, and you can't do that. I understand why you wanted to do that, but you can't.
So we will move it, but how do we
Okay.
make grass grow if we
All
don't
right,
put topsoil?
the most important thing right now, though it's a very small area, the most important thing right now is that site, that area needs to be stabilized.
With what and
Right.
how?
We're suggesting some perhaps low bush cover, and I'm reluctant to say hydro seed, because I'm not sure it's gonna take at this point in time. Okay, we're
It's hard pan under there
It's
now.
hard paying there, so what's it gonna adhere to?
underneath.
Yeah, you can't hydro seed it.
Okay, I mean, as I said, there was some loam that was placed there. I don't know what's gonna take in there. Okay, I don't know what the ground cover was like before it. Obviously, there was some scraggly grass and herbaceous cover there before, but it's not there now. Because you can see where it ended, and vegetation doesn't end in a straight line. Okay, so there was some work that was done there, and that's beside the point right now. What's important right now, and what I think the commission is saying is that needs to be stabilized. The siltation fence that's there needs to be installed properly, first of all, because there's going to be runoff into the brook. That loam that was placed there as we get into the winter months, and especially into the spring, that's going to start to filter down into the brook. A heavy rain and snow melt in the spring is going to just take all of that was placed there, because it's not packed, it's very
But will a
loose.
shrub grow or be planted into nothingness? What do you suggest if we don't put something there to make the shrubbery, and we'll use low-growing shrubbery, I don't care what we use, what is it going to grow into? I'll remove the dirt, but when we make a hole to put a plant into it, what is it going to adhere to?
I don't know what was there before, because
I
what
just
was there
told you there
before
was-
has been covered with loam.
No, it has not been covered.
There's fresh, ma'am,
In a
I was there an hour and a half ago, there's fresh loam there,
Correct,
okay?
in a pile, not spread.
No, it was spread, because I was leaving my footprints in it, okay?
That is the
there
dirt
was-
that's there.
It may have been the dirt that was there, but the herbaceous cover that was over that is no longer there,
Correct. We removed
okay?
poison ivy. We admit that. We pulled the poison ivy
Okay,
out.
there was more than just poison ivy there. There was grassy area as you get close to the road, and there's a grassy area as you go up behind the building. And it ends in a 25-foot or 30-foot long section along the top of the bank. And there's a straight line of scarified
If we go
loam
to the
that
gardener
goes to another straight line of scarified loam that goes down to the brook.
If we go to the gardener tomorrow, what shrubbery are you recommending that would be placed into it? What is your recommendation?
You know what? I'll let the rest of the commission make some comments on that. I know blueberry bush is established very well, and I don't know how well they'll establish at this point in time.
Well, one of the concerns is if the soil is there, the hard pan that's there would even support The
I
growth,
I don't know. I'm not an arborist, I'm not, I'm not a horticulturist. To answer that question, I have no idea what's gonna take at this point in time. You'd have to rely on an expert or your garden center to come out and give you some advice as far as that goes. But we also have a notice of intent, and those plantings have to be included as part of the notice of intent
We
filing.
said junipers.
Hmm?
Didn't we? We said in the thing, the juniper, what did we say? We just said greenery? Didn't specify a green?
Your question about how is anything going to grow there, there is vegetation along the length of the brook, just beyond this little spot. Most of what was there appears to have died as far as the tree business.
Correct, Louisa.
So obviously, native plants of the same type that are further along would probably survive there. I didn't look particularly at what kind of trees they were. If you want something that looks more like landscape, it probably should be something that's going to survive in an area where you're going to have salt from the driveway, you're going to have maybe snow pushed up on it, and you also are concerned about the soil. I hesitate to suggest it, but if you took out bucket for bucket as you were planting, in other words, as you dig the hole and take out a bucket of soil, at that point, I wouldn't see any problem with replacing that with a bucket of loam. But you can't add additional material to that area.
okay.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Then we'll hire someone to do
But-
the landscape.
But what
Okay.
you dig up and take away has to be taken
As long as,
Okay.
as long as
spread
volumetrically it's even?
somewhere else.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. I understand.
And as
And
far,
do you care if it's low? Do you care if it's like a juniper that'll take, or do you care if it's a tree? Like, do you want a weeping willow because it has roots? What do
I
you
don't
want?
think that area is large enough for a weeping willow.
Well, I was thinking like a small
The-
cherry.
A
weeping
small,
willow.
a flowering dwarf type of a tree
Yeah,
might
that's what
look
I was
good there.
I would like to say that whomever you use to do the planting will know, but the city posts a invasive species list. There's about 20 or 30 species that you shouldn't use,
Shouldn't or should?
should not
Okay,
use. And most of the local, with the exception perhaps of burning bush and stuff like that, which is, you should not use that.
okay.
Most of the local garden centers don't supply invasive species
Who's the
anymore
gentleman
because
that's right at the end of
because
that street?
professional landscapers don't use them anymore because
Okay.
they're not allowed to for the most part, by the local planning boards and conservation commissions, so they generally don't stock them anymore. But it doesn't mean you won't run into them, but it is on the city website, the list of species that you shouldn't use. Anything else,
Okay.
whatever's going to take and whatever you feel is aesthetically
Mhm.
pleasing, and as Commissioner Varnum had indicated, if you're going to put a bucket in to let the root ball take,
Mhm.
take what's there out, okay? and-
That's
and
clear.
take it off-site,
Okay.
okay?
It'll be planted this week before
Right.
Thanksgiving.
Hold on.
For some of the other projects, especially with planning board and everything, the development services staff is actually available to help with landscape design. We have a design planner also with DPD. So if that's something you are interested in discussing, you should feel free to email me, and I can
Well,
definitely.
time is of essence, like we're all feeling. We would like to get this planted.
Yes, we can start
And we will
tomorrow.
remove the dirt and get something planted.
Yes.
We left the dirt
Yeah, but-
because that's what we were told to do, is just
Be-
stop.
Before you have a cat come in to remove that dirt, fix the siltation fence, okay? That needs to be done the first thing,
Okay.
okay? And then
Sure.
everything else can
So-
go after that. I'd like to open this up for comments. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this project? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns? One last time, is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns? All right, I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right.
Thank you.
Take your book.
I move to issue a Lowell standard order on this project with the following special conditions: that silt fence shall be installed down gradient of the work area along the edge of the brook before any additional work occurs. The silt fence shall remain in place until project is complete and the area is stabilized. A planting plan shall be submitted to the Lowell Conservation Commission for approval prior to planting. The planting plan shall include recommended species and locations where the species will be planted, number of plants, and indicate how the stabilization of the site will occur. No invasive species shall be used in the planting plan. Banned species can be found on the City of Lowell website under the Conservation Commission page. Anything else?
You know what?
Any amelioration of the soil shall include removal of an equal amount of soil off the site, and amount of such swapping of soil shall be indicated and submitted to the Lowell Conservation Commission after planting is complete.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yea or nay. Commissioner Lovely? Commissioner Varnum?
Yes.
Chair is yes. Commissioner Chaluka?
Aye.
Commissioner Lynch?
Aye.
Okay, it's all set. You're all set, folks. You'll get a copy of the order in a couple of days. There's an appeal period that passes, but what's of primary importance right now, though, is that silt fence needs to be addressed and tomorrow morning, as soon as possible. Okay? Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is an enforcement order. Brian Bond and Robert D'Ambrose concerning 125 Cambridge Street. In violation location is 125 Cambridge Street. It's clearing of trees and filling within 100-year floodplain alteration to an inland bank, riverfront area, and bordering vegetated wetlands. Stockpiling of loose landscape material on a resource area without erosion and sedimentation. Control measures to protect the River Meadow Brook. Yes, sir. If you could identify yourself for the record.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Bond, for the record.
Swati, can you outline the enforcement order and what was observed on the site?
Sir, On our first site visit, I actually was observing the site from the Mass DOT property, which is the buffer between the brook and the Mass connector. So it looked like a cleared area, and it had mulch or some kind of loose landscape material on the slope. And we had a few photographs from across the site, and at that point, when we came across from this side, it was a chained property. There were a few big trucks stored inside this property. And at that point, I came back and I was trying to contact the owners, and we had Mr. Bond as the only owner for 125 Cambridge Street. That's how the city's GIS tax assessor's map shows. And then on a second site trip there, a site visit there, I actually met with Mr. D'Ambrose and Mr. Bob O'Keefe, who explained to me that it's actually a major part of that property is owned by both Mr. D'Ambrose and Mr. Bond, I believe, your father, who's no longer alive. And they expressed their concerns about the status of ownership of the property after the establishment of Mass Connector. So I told them, as per the tax records, it's still under their name, and so they are technically have to address what's going on the property. So they informed me that the tree clearing was not something that happened at that time. In fact, at that time, I was actually trying to locate what was happening on 41 Tanner Street, which is, next item. So, and it looked pretty clear. The older aerial photographs show that there were trees there, and they explained to me that it was mostly dead trees that fell into the brook. And they were currently using that property for storing landscape material, and it included cut tree trunks and also some landscape mulch material and everything. And I was concerned about the lack of any erosion control measures at the edge of the bank of the stream. And I came back and I talked to the DPD staff because, my tenure with the city started only in August. And Craig Thomas, who was in my position before I joined the city, informed me that he had actually communicated with Mr. D'Ambrose sometime around last year about how that is not a suitable use of the property considering the location of it close to the stream. And it was not followed up beyond that, assuming the owner was going to take action about it. And so right now, more than any tree clearing that happened right now, DPD is more concerned about how that property is being used. And after communicating with them, they both sounded like they want to do what's best in terms of how that property can be secured and what can be done there.
All right, this is actually a continuation. We ratified this order at the last meeting, I believe, correct? Right. And then we requested either you or a representative, the landowners or the representative of the people who did the work appear before us. This is, anytime you're stockpiling materials, if you're doing it in a floodplain or a riverfront area, those are particularly sensitive resource areas protected by the state law, federal law, and local ordinances. And we take them pretty seriously. You've been sitting through the meeting, so you hear.
We were educated during the meeting, absolutely. Mr. Chairman, we own the land, but we're not the people using the land. It's a small piece of land that's adjacent to the brook. It's 6,000 square feet, and I'm not sure the exact dimensions. We really don't see the property. The two gentlemen over here, Mr. O'Keefe, his property is next to it, and Mr. Burbank is the one actually using the land, so we weren't familiar what was going on there. all that being said, we did hear you loud and clear with the previous applicants that were here before you of things that need to be done, and we see no problem moving forward in the same direction.
All right, I understand what you're saying, that you may not have, hefted the shovel or put the stump there or cleared any of the area, but as the landowner, you're still ultimately responsible for it. If you have a tenant or someone utilizing the property that's in violation, then you need to address that situation too, as the landowner and the responsible party. It's, as they say, the king's beef is with the landowner, not with.
No, I understand. It is what it is.
Not with who's doing it. So, Swati, the current state of. What's the current status of the site right now?
When I was there, I observed that there is no plant growth along that slope.
Mm-hmm.
So with the trucks accessing that site, and it's a pretty narrow site, I mean, like one truck can just fit, and then you're looking at the slope of the bank towards the stream. We are definitely looking at erosion happening. And when you look from the other side of the brook, when I was, there on the first day, you can see that the bank for that stretch looks very different from the natural bank at the other two sides. So this is going to become an issue where more of that slope is going to degrade without some kind of bank stabilization, as long as this property is used for this particular landscape storage accessed by trucks.
Has there been siltation barriers placed out there?
No,
No?
nothing has been placed
Is there
out
a
there.
need for them at this point in time?
No, it has been kind of settled, I would say.
I guess in my own mind, I'm not getting a clear picture as to what the commission needs to do going forward and what needs to be done as far as a corrective or restorative measures need to be taken. I suppose I'd probably suggest two things. One is that a site visit be scheduled for the commission members to look at it. Unfortunately, I was doing my rounds today, and I don't know why I visited 41 Tanner Street, and you're literally right there, and I didn't take a peek at yours either. It just slipped my mind, and it would have been a 100-yard walk. I know I, for one, would like to at least look at it. You sort of use that area, it's a parking area, a truck staging area?
Well, again, we don't use it as owners, and we don't receive
What is it being used for?
We don't receive any funds for the use of it. The person that's using it parks his vehicles there, just puts it behind a fenced-in area so that nobody damages his vehicles.
But it appears, though, that they're offloading materials there, though, too.
I just happened to look at it a couple of weeks back when I received the notice,
All right.
looking back there, so.
I mean, as part of going forward, one would perhaps suggest a site visit, and maybe, there may be some corrective measures that can be taken to prevent close passage to the River Meadow Brook. There's, obviously that there's a historic industrial nature to that area. We don't want to necessarily change that, but we have to somehow alter the way it's being used to bring it and make it sensitive to the current state law and city ordinance. And that going forward at least, and going forward at least, that the utilization, the continued utilization as it's being utilized now is done in a responsible manner. It can be done. You know, there may be, you know, maybe some stabilization, maybe a barrier could be placed up there, I don't know. It certainly, at least to me, would be worth a site visit, perhaps with yourself and your co-owner present, to discuss how the property is being used and you know, going forward, what you think will make sense, what will work for the site, and how to prevent abuses, okay? And I'm not saying they were intentional, it's just, and I think everyone in the city is aware of the Tanner Street corridor. But that's still no excuse for just doing whatever the heck you want to do. If you can improve a situation, you improve a situation. You know, you certainly, you know, you own the property, you want to keep its value, okay? But notwithstanding that, we do have the, you know, you're a neighbor to the River Meadow Brook, and that's a major wildlife corridor, whether you may know that or not.
No, I'm very familiar with the whole
Okay.
area. You know, my father owned in the property since the 60s, and, you know, property out front on Tanner Street, so
Yeah.
very familiar with the whole.
And as dirty as that particular area is with the Silsarum and the industrial complexes around there, it's still a wildlife haven that runs along that corridor between the connector and the businesses that are there on the other side. So, you know, I'm not sure whether or not an NOI needs to be filed, because I don't know, is there an anticipated change in the use of the property? Are you planning on, you know, building anything out there?
You know, the property's 6,000 square feet, and I'm not sure of the dimensions. Again, it's really property that's not usable for anything, probably other than what's happening there now. It's half of the property is underneath the brook. So it really took place when they kind of put the Lowell connector in, and the brook was actually in the middle of the Lowell connector. They relocated it. You know, so it's probably, I'm going to guess, 20 feet wide of land. And then the bank goes down to the brook.
But the activity that's brought us here today, that wasn't done, that's just something that's been historically done on the site. That wasn't done because you're changing the nature of how you're using the property.
No, I think the property, and these gentlemen could probably speak better to that than I am. I could. But they've probably been using it that way for 20, 30 years.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Come on up if you want to speak. I know you're.
Okay,
And identify yourself for the record.
Robert D. Ambrose. I'm a co-owner. And to start off by saying, we didn't know all this stuff, okay? But that piece of land there is, it's all ashes. It was a dump originally. That whole area is filled. So in the past, a lot of people go in there and dig for old bottles. So they kind of undermined the whole thing. And it was a mess back there, and now it's pretty clean, pretty nice looking. And Mr. Burbank parks his trucks there. They're brand-new trucks, and that's it. But, you know, we want to make it right, so whatever we have to do, we will.
Well, there's nothing wrong with parking trucks out there, but altering the bank, you know, we do have issues with that, so.
Yeah, the
And,
bank
you know,
was-
Mr. Bird, you're a tree arborist, so you get it, okay?
Well, there was some box elder trees out there. You know, box elder trees, they're very shallow rooted. And we did lose a couple in the brook.
and one fell on my roof, and
And one fell on Mr. DeAmbrose's
through
roof.
my roof, I had to spend
But we trimmed them off. We're in the tree preservation. We're not cutting trees down. We're trimming, we're, making it right. We don't want to take them away from the brook or anything. We do it right down the bank and cleaned everything. Anything that landed in the brook came out. So the flow of the brook would keep flowing. And that's all we've ever done there.
Okay, but, there was some observed, just stumpage and whatnot, and we,
Well, she's saying stumpage. There's probably 6 pieces of firewood, log lengths. They can be moved anytime. That's,
How about one of those shields like you were talking about? Would that be helpful to you?
well, I don't know. Let's schedule a site visit for those of the commission members that can attend, and, hopefully during the daylight so we can see out there. And I know we all have day jobs, so it's, as do you folks, so it'll have to be done when summer, most of us can be out there and see what's going on. I know some of us will just go out on our own anyway, at after-hour times. So if you see one of us out there poking around, it's us. But perhaps we can do that, and I don't know if there's any. I'm not getting a clear picture. Were you out there?
I couldn't find the site today.
It's
So-
on Cambridge Street.
I don't know if anyone, and again, I apologize. I was right around literally 100 yards away, and I didn't even go over
On
there.
Cambridge Street, it's not on Tanner Street.
No, I know that. It's right around the corner, but the site where Swati was mentioning, 41 Tanner Street, is very close to you. So,
Actually, on the other side of the cul-de-sac.
yeah.
The big cul-de-sac at the end of Cambridge Street, it's on the left side.
Oh, so it's on, that's further up by Scannell Iron Works. And you're on the other side of the Cambridge Street end?
We're on Tanner Street side, Tanner Street,
Yeah, no, I know you're on the connector side.
Scannell's,
Yeah,
Cerism, right across the street from Cerism is Cambridge Street cul-de-sac. And at the end of the cul-de-sac, facing the Lowell connector on the left-hand side, it's a little strip of land along the brook.
okay. No, maybe I didn't see it then. All right, so, I'd like to go out there and take a peek. There's nothing wrong with parking trucks there, but let's, if we can stabilize the site perhaps a little bit better and pick it up, and again, I know you folks are fully aware of the Tanner Street corridor CAC going on too, so, that's a whole nother issue that exists, but can we schedule something in the next week or so? Would that be possible with you folks?
We're all self-employed, so we don't have set hours,
Likewise, and I work downtown, so.
So Keith, there's always businesses right there, so, I mean,
All right. Yeah, if we can schedule something in the next week, and perhaps we can continue this to the following meeting, okay? If there's any other questions, do I have a motion to continue this to the, would be November 28th?
I'll offer a motion to continue this hearing until November 28th at the request of the applicant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. And just Swati, one of you be in touch with Swati, and we'll, hopefully by the end of this week or beginning of next week, and we'll figure it out. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in.
thank you very much.
Moving on, another enforcement order, Dennis Scannell, 50 Tanner Street, concerning DEP file number 2060665. Violation location is 41 Tanner Street, and clearing of trees within a 100-year floodplain, alteration to an inland bank and riverfront area and bordering vegetated wetlands, and failure to follow conditions recorded on the order of conditions issued on November 29th, 2010. And Mr. Action, you're here for Mr. Scannell?
I'm Steve Erickson from North Environmental Service. The plan in front of you is an excerpt from the larger plan, and it shows the area of the riverfront and part of the area of the buffer zone. Mr. Scannell is doing some work on this property. We have a previous order of conditions for construction of a billboard on the property. He has torn down a building that you can see in the lower right-hand corner of that plan.
Mr. Erickson, if I just want to interrupt you for a second. Before we rely too heavily on the existing order of conditions, do you have the recording information for that?
Not with me, but we do have it. I can forward
It's
to
not
your office.
It's not recorded.
Okay, well, he hasn't started the work on the billboard itself yet, but I will check on that.
And unfortunately, if it's not recorded, you don't have an order.
That's correct. At any rate, Mr. Scannell he has torn down the building. He's very active in that Tanner Street corridor that you had mentioned. As part of that, they're rehabilitating this site. In the process of doing that work, he did cut down some trees along the riverbank, and most of those, in fact, all of those trees were black locust, considered an invasive species. They're also overgrown with bittersweet, another invasive species. So it's not much of a loss getting rid of those particular plants. But we're here to say that, we're ready to mitigate it in any way that you think appropriate. So if you would like us to put plantings in there or somehow stabilize it even better, then we're happy to do that.
Well, I suppose at this stage of the game would like you not to do anything because you don't have an order of conditions. You don't have a permit to do any work out there. The cutting that was done along the bank, what was the purpose of that?
The trees are all overgrown with bittersweet. It's a weak tree to begin with, so there were a lot of branches coming down. Some of them were falling. They were in pretty miserable shape.
Well, I guess what I'm curious about is why you're doing any work out there.
He's not doing much. He did tear down the building. I don't know if he had permits for that or not. I will find out.
I mean, I know we permitted an NOI and an order of condition, under an NOI and an order of conditions a couple of years ago.
That was in part for cleaning it up and for building the billboard. He has
For
cleaned it
building the
up a great
billboard.
deal.
And I know there was some issue with respect to the billboard, but the order was never recorded, unfortunately. And then assuming arguendo that there is an order, there's still some issues because what work has been done. First of all, work shouldn't have even started. He shouldn't even be out there unless he tells us. He has an obligation to notify us, which we don't have. Generally, someone from the office visits to make sure that the, siltation barriers are placed and appropriately placed. There's no siltation fence out there now.
Yes, there is.
Wasn't exactly the brightest time when I was out there, but I didn't see it.
Well, I was out there last week looking at the property when he first contacted me, and the silt fence was up, but it was poorly installed. I told him to install it properly and take care of that, and I assume that he did it this time, but I will verify that also. But the silt fence is up.
All right, well, I'm going to open it up. I mean, we've got a situation here where I think Mr. Scannell's gonna need to file again. You know, and he can perhaps take his old filing and just refile it.
We could amend that if you'd like.
You know, I mean, but we're in a situation now where and again, it's not something that's uncurable, but the law is pretty clear. It's not voidable, it's void. And you gotta notify the commission when you're gonna start working, but you better have recorded your order. And he didn't do it. You know, we've had situations like that in the past where people have come in for extensions and we can't even extend them because they don't have an order to extend. All right, I'm going to open it up to questions from the commission. So, Commissioner Lovely?
I didn't get a chance to go out and check out the site, but I'm just curious, in your opinion, Mr. Erickson, is the area stable now? Despite the fact that
Most of it was previously paved. The pavement is kind of broken up right now, but it's compacted. It's been used for years for parking of trucking equipment and trailers, and it's still being used for that. So it's not 100% stable, but it's fairly stable because most of it has been paved.
The reason I asked the question is, in light of what the chairman was saying, it seems to me then that there may be time to have your client potentially reapply, seeking a permit to stay in order conditions, or whatever the conditions were at the time the original permit was issued but not recorded. We would have time to, at that point, probably do a site visit and ensure that anything that needs to be done to address the trees that were taken down is done at that time.
Not a problem.
Commissioner Varnum?
I'd be, the site I couldn't find today.
Yeah, and if I could comment, you got to get your DEP sign up.
He does have a DEP sign up, and you will see that right across from Scannell Iron Building, Iron and Steel. So there is a DEP sign up, so you can locate it now.
When did that go up?
I think it was last week. It was one of the things we talked about when I was
It's
on
not
the
there now.
site.
The other one is there for the pad. But not this one.
No,
And if
he had
it
one at
is,
a
I
request.
couldn't find it.
He had put the sign, I was told he put the sign up at the request of your conservation agent.
I couldn't find it.
We'll verify that, but
There's a DEP sign out there, but it's not this project. And if it is, he has the wrong number on it.
that could be, I'll verify that.
Commissioner Chalupka, Commissioner Lynch? All right. Yeah, there's a couple of open questions. I agree with you. Black locust is kind of nasty. It's a great wood to work with as far as a woodworker is concerned, because the stuff literally lasts forever.
Good for woodworking and.
Yeah, but it is an invasive, but notwithstanding that though, he shouldn't be out there. He's supposed to give us notice. It's item number 1 on the order of conditions.
With me or with Mr. Scannell. He just wants to make it right.
All right, okay. Let's reset then. As I said, I did a very cursory search in the registry online, and I couldn't find it. I indexed it under Dennis Scannell and 41 Tanner Street Realty Trust, and I didn't find it under either one. So, and I took it from 2000, I believe, in 9 and forward. So,
We'll verify that.
so if it's recorded, I don't know what name it's recorded under, or perhaps it's misindexed, but I couldn't find it. All right. All right. Anything further from the commission? All right. Do I have a when do you think you can have answers to some of these questions?
It'll be a month.
So not the next hearing? You're first December?
If we have to file a notice of intent, then I couldn't possibly do that by the next hearing, because we'd have to get revised plans and everything else. So it's more likely that would be a month.
All right. Let's, the first December meeting date, would that be
Sure.
appropriate? All right, do I have a motion to continue till, what would that be, December? 12th? Okay, thank you. Till the December 12th hearing date?
I make a motion to continue to the December 12th hearing date.
All right, do I have a second? Motion by Commissioner Lynch, second by Commissioner Lovely. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying yea or nay.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Mr. Erickson, are you also here for Mr. Mercier too? I am. Okay. Moving on, enforcement order continued from the prior, most immediate prior hearing date, October 24th of 2012, Paul Mercier, concerning DEP file number 2060584. Excuse me. Violation location is 51 and 57 Shirley Avenue. Construction of a single-family home in bordering land subject to flooding, bordering land subject to flooding. All right, this is before us, just in sum. I know you weren't here at the last hearing, but initially an enforcement order issued for site clearing that had occurred on the site, and Mr. Mercier was ordered to provide a planting plan, a detailed planting plan, and to appear, the commission made a determination that the plan that was submitted was insufficient, and had indicated to Mr. Mercier, and again, I'm just summarizing this, and had indicated to Mr. Mercier to provide more details, and as a result of that, details were not provided, and a fine, prior to that, a fine had already issued until such time as a planting plan had, a restoration plan had been issued. So there was an accrual of fines up until the receipt of the initial restoration plan. The commission found that the restoration plan that was supplied was insufficient and did not address the concerns that the commission had made known at that prior meeting, and a subsequent enforcement order was thereafter issued ordering Mr. Mercier to appear, either in person or by representative in front of us, and to provide a restoration plan and replanting plan in line with what was discussed at that hearing. Again, Mr. Mercier did not. There was a meeting where we didn't have a quorum, we didn't take any action, and there was no accrual of fines, and fines didn't start. But then thereafter, at the next meeting, and I believe that was the October 24th meeting, which had a quorum, Mr. Mercier nor a representative was present at that point in time, and a secondary enforcement order issued for the lack of not receiving a more detailed restoration and planting plan as ordered by the commission, and fines thereafter continued to accrue. And right now until today, and I don't believe we've received any updated restoration plan. Is that correct?
No, we haven't gotten
Okay.
any.
All right, but we do have a representative here, so the floor is yours.
We were asked to produce a plan, and we're doing that, but I need some details from the commission on specifically what you want on the plan. I agree the last plan had too many plantings, because when we first produced the plan, I hadn't had a copy of the enforcement order. The enforcement order noted that there were 3 trees cut, and I was assuming that it was all of the trees that were on the property that were cut. But at any rate, what we're looking for from the commission is some direction on what you want for a planting plan.
All right, well, I'm sure some of the commission members will pipe in. What I want to say by way of comment in response to that, though, Mr. Erickson, is that the commission had ordered either Mr. Mercier or his representative to appear in front of the commission on numerous occasions, and he failed to do so. And that's primarily the reason for the ongoing fines, was his refusal and/or active ignoring of our act. Now, I don't of our enforcement order, and so I don't know what prevented him from being here or having a representative here. But the simple fact of the matter is neither he nor a representative were here. We discussed, and it's available online, and it's available to people if they choose to tune into Channel 99. These meetings are televised. We had discussed at length the type of plantings and detail that we wanted on the restoration plan, and I'm sure we'll do that again tonight for your information.
If you could provide me with a list
And
of the details.
And I understand you're only going to be here if Mr. Mercier requests that you be here. So, you know, you're not going to get the brunt of any ire, at least from me. But what excuse me, what I want to impress upon Mr. Mercier is that he had several and ample opportunities to appear in front of the commission to address the situation. We wanted a dialogue. We wanted him
I don't know
here.
what notification he received, and I can't speak for Mr. Mercier
No,
about that.
I understand.
I'm here. I want some details, some direction on what you want for a planting plan, so I can satisfy the wishes of the commission.
What I want to say and what I want to impress upon Mr. Mercier is that he had more than ample opportunity to be here, and he was not here on multiple occasions, and he was not here, and that's why he's being fined. He's was actively ignoring enforcement orders and orders from the commission, and that's why he's being fined. That's the primary reason. Now we have a
I can't address those issues.
I understand that. Now we have you here. You're acting on behalf of Mr. Mercier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the floor.
I don't know if you want verbal comments or if you want to give us written comments on a plan, and we will address those on a plan.
What the
whichever
commission...
is more convenient.
Okay, and again, we discussed this at length, and I don't want to keep going over the same thing, and I know some of the commission members will say, but what the primary comments on the initial restoration and replanting plan that were submitted was that there was too much, or let me rephrase it, not enough deciduous species and not enough like-in-kind species to the ones that were removed, namely ashes, I believe, and again, I'm not looking at it now, but there was numerous ash trees removed. What we got back had a plethora of arborvitaes and spruce and evergreen type species that were not present on the site prior to it being stripped. So the commission was looking for a more common sense and a restoration that would have brought it back to what was originally existing on the site.
I believe the enforcement order said that there were 3 trees cut. Do you want me to put 3 trees
No,
up?
the enforcement order had indicated that the entire site was stripped except for a couple of trees. Okay, not that only 3 trees were cut. The entire site was cleared. We have no idea how many trees were cleared off that site because it was done in such a rapid method.
You're under order of conditions to build the house there. You have to take the trees down in order to put the house up.
We're not going over that again. We've already discussed that, and that was part of enforcement order number 1. We're on enforcement order number 2.
Well,
And
let's
enforcement
focus
order
on-
an enforcement order, if you disagree with that, I've noticed that you've submitted a letter of appeal, or that you intend to appeal, or I don't know what you're doing. The letter really doesn't mean much to us at all.
Let's focus on what you would like to see on a plan.
The
So we can all
subject
go
of the
home.
second enforcement order is to provide a more detailed and more common sense restoration plan that will bring the site back to its prior status before it was stripped. You do not have an order of conditions anymore. Your order of conditions is expired.
He hasn't done any work since the order of conditions expired.
Right, I understand that, but he can't build a house right now. He would have to refile. What
aware
we're
of that.
saying is, and the subject of the second enforcement order is to restore the site to its prior condition, and to utilize species, deciduous species that were in place prior to the site being stripped. Now, I'm going to open the floor to the other commission members, because there was very lengthy discussions by several commission members as to what they would like to see on the site as a result, and the second enforcement order issued.
Do you want to
Right.
give me a list of what you want to see on it, or do you want to discuss it tonight?
Okay, Mr. Erickson, if Mr. Mercier was here at several of our prior meetings, all of those were already discussed at length. There's people here in the audience that could probably tell you what we discussed. And as I said, our meetings are available online. You can watch them in their entirety, and you can see what we discussed. Our minutes are available.
We'll get a copy of the minutes.
All right, but right now, I'm going to open it up to commission members if they want to offer further comments on the subject of the second enforcement order, because that's what we're here for tonight. Commissioner Lovely?
Echo from the last meeting that the major substantive issue was the mix of the tree species. It was predominantly evergreens, and what was taken out was predominantly deciduous trees. And as the chairman says, a lot of this was discussed at length at previous meetings. Those meetings are both video recorded, and there are notes available. And I don't think it's the use of anyone's time to reiterate what's been stated multiple times. My only other question is, Chair, at this point in time, we still don't have a plan, and we have an outstanding penalty per day for not receiving a plan, and I'm just trying to figure out how do we reconcile that? We still have an outstanding, we don't have a plan in hand, and we're extending penalties on a per-day basis until we receive the plan.
That's my understanding.
So at some point, I think we need to discuss how to reconcile that issue. Nothing further at this point.
Commissioner Varnum?
I think that the recordings of the meetings have a pretty good indication of what the issues were, and I would advise the applicant not to rely on just the minutes of the meeting, because the minutes are only an outline. We don't do word-for-word minutes the way perhaps we did in the past, and the minutes are just an outline of the topics that were discussed, and the meat of what was discussed is on the videotape, which is available online in its entirety. The plan that was submitted was wholly inadequate. It showed very little thought, very little indication that there was a replanting plan. It looked like something that could have been done in the middle of the night after waking up from a nightmare or something. white pines are totally inappropriate for that site, and I just want to say that in case that's something that pops into somebody's mind. It's a huge tree. The site is very small, and there's just no room for white pines, and besides that, it's an evergreen. I think that the site can be restored without any problem of leaving a space in the middle for a house, but certainly all of the trees shouldn't be lined up on the back boundary line or on the side boundary lines. And I don't, I think looking at the videotape will probably indicate what you need to know.
That's fine, we'll do that.
Certainly, the Conservation Office would be a resource for you to put your planting plan before them, before it's submitted to the whole commission.
Commissioner Chalupka?
No comments.
Commissioner Lynch? All right, I don't have any, I don't have anything further to add. I'm not trying to obfuscate the issue here, Mr. Erickson, but, and as I said, you're not going to get my ire tonight, and I understand you're advocating on behalf of your client, but as I said, I think the commission's a little bit tired of this, and it has been discussed at length several times over several meetings as to what we would like to see. So, as I said, if you don't know how to find us online, and as I said, it's full video of the hearing, and certainly if you have difficulty understanding the audio at some point in time.
It's just that I spend enough time at meetings at night, and I just don't feel inclined to watch another meeting on television. But do you want to continue this?
I understand that, and again, it's not your issue. It's Mr. Mercier's issue. But he had more than ample opportunity to be before us on several different occasions, and either couldn't or chose not to, or I don't know why. Okay, there was no communication at all, and that's the primary reason for the fines. And right now they're going to continue until such time that the commission receives an appropriate restorative plan.
Do you want to continue this to another date?
Well, yeah, we'll continue it to the next hearing date, but again, the clock is ticking, and realistically, he should get his plan in as quickly as possible.
We'll do that.
With regard to what has been discussed, and I think Commissioner Varnum stated it very succinctly that a commonsensical restoration plan can be put together, keeping in mind that there may be some future plan to place a foundation and a home on the property, so you don't really want to be planting trees there in that particular location. But again, what was received had white pines and arborvitaes along the side and the back, and maybe a token red maple, I believe.
It was intended more for landscaping purposes.
But the site was primarily ash and deciduous prior to the stripping, and those trees obviously enjoyed their time and thrived there. So something of similar nature would thrive just as well. And that's all. Do I have a motion to continue this to the 28th, I believe?
Move to continue this, it's not an order, issue until November 28th.
All right, do I have a second? Commissioner Lovely, motion by Commissioner Chalupka. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, thank you for coming in. Do I have a motion on the September 12th minutes?
Um,
No, he's right. Hello? Better?
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll move to accept the minutes from September 12th, 2012.
Second.
All right, we have second discussion.
It's just a minor correction. I believe we were all at that meeting, and yet it says that I opened the meeting, which I don't think I would have if Chris were here.
Which meeting was that?
September 25th, I think.
No, September 12th.
September 12th.
I might not have been here.
There's a little inconsistency there.
Go to the video.
Quotes you, so I'm sure you were there, Chris.
I'm not sure, but if I'm quoted in the minutes, then I was there, so. It's, all right. All in favor with the change?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Anything else? Any other business? Swati? All set? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Lynch, motion by Commissioner Lovely. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and good night.